Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juggernaut, and today I have a couple of Armored Warfare replay videos for you in the T-72. And today we're going to be talking about that tank. I know there's not a lot of people on my channel that enjoy Armored Warfare, but there are quite a few that like World of Tanks, and I've transitioned from World of Tanks to Armored Warfare pretty much fully now. So yeah, enough excuses. Let's get down with the video. This here before you is the T-72 Ural, or the T-72 Ural tank, which is going to be the theme of today's two replays that I'm going to show you. The title, as you've probably already seen it, is Soviet Steel is Supreme. Why? Today I want to talk to you about the armor on the T-72, as well as show you a couple of very, very interesting, very close games that have happened. So we're starting off on... I forgot the name of this map, but it is probably the most difficult map out of all of them. I just plow that shot straight into the ground. Not the most accurate of guns on this tank, but I think this is probably the most difficult map you can play on at medium difficulty PvE missions. My T-72 is still fairly unupgraded. I have the side skirt armor, the reactive armor on the sides, and one or two ammunition upgrades. I still don't have heat rounds, just armor piercing and high explosive plastic. Or is it Hesh that this thing gets? I forget. Anyways, the T-72. There is a reason why Churchill and some of the other European leaders decided that it might be a good idea to nuke Europe, you know, the entire thing, if the Soviets started coming, to preemptively nuke their own cities to stop the Soviet Armor Corps from advancing. This tank is not that reason, because it appeared later on in the Cold War era, but let's just say there's a reason for everything. The armor on this thing, as you can see, is damn near impregnable in the hands of a good driver. Which you will see later, in the hands of a good driver, this tank can take out a T-80, 2 generations ahead of it. Yes, a Soviet tank 2 generations ahead can be taken out very easily by a T-72 Ural. This is the unupgraded, by the way. The early version, T-72A, which you get later, is even more beautiful and powerful. But I love the way this tank looks. First of all, okay, I'm buying time a little bit here by telling you all these things. The T-72 is actually the predecessor to the T-90, well, as of last year it isn't, but until recently the most modern tank in the Russian armament. The T-14 Armata obviously taking over, but yes, later, more about that when I get a T-90 and maybe an Armata later, but my point is, this thing can bounce shot after shot from any tank in the game, including ones that are, as I said, 2 generations above it. And with that gun, whilst lacking accuracy and maybe the speed at which the gun itself aims, it certainly isn't lacking a lot. It is a very viable gun. The objective on this PvE map, for those of you that aren't aware, is to take out lieutenants. They're basically overpowered tanks. The only way you can get hit and penetrated in this thing is if you are not using your armor, not angling it, or you simply get outflanked by the enemy. That is an American M1. Bounce. Actually, that went straight into the gun, which I think you can see there at an angle. Doesn't matter too much. I could have used a repair kit there, but it's a PvE mission. I really don't want to spend that much money. So, M1 versus T-72 Ural. We are bouncing shot after shot, one from another. That went straight into my upper plate and had no chance of penetrating. Move around him, and spokojnie noci. Good night, America. Then we're going to pick up some Italians later and some of our comrades as well. There's going to be a T-80 and a drama in the finish. But there's a fragile M1 Abrams over there. No problem penetrating it through the lower plate. Actually, the upper plate, sorry. And the side, again, bounced. That turret is not penetratable. I don't think I've ever been penetrated in the turret in this tank. Let me go into free cam a little bit here. This thing cannot be penetrated. The side armor, yeah, absolutely. The lower plate is very vulnerable. The rear armor obviously is rubbish, as in most tanks it is. There's a German Panzer. There was a German Panzer there. But I've actually never used this camera before, I'm sorry. This is going to take a bit of getting used to. Anyways, I have never been penetrated in the turret of a T-64 or a T-72. Let's just hope that persists. Another shot. That one actually went into the side, which it's totally my fault, but hey. And the rest of the match I'm going to spend in this position. Let's see what the enemy are trying to do. There is a Centurion, a Superior Mark V. The frontal upper plate of this thing is almost effectively an auto bounce zone. The turret front is rounded and very well armoured as well. The side armour, however, fairly easy to get through. This is a fragile T-80. You know the tank that I talked about that's 2 generations ahead of me? Yeah, not at this angle. What is the enemy shooting at? They're shooting at a well-angled T-72. A well-angled T-72 that can use cover, i.e. this depression here in the terrain, is one of the most difficult things to dislodge out of its position and knock back into the garage. Let's see exactly what happens. So sometimes passes I'm a bit slow to aim and reload here while I'm getting into position, and there we go, good solid hit flush into the side of that chieftain. Bounce. The BMP-2 here is in a risky position and isn't actually doing any damage to the T-72 Ural, the superior one. Another bounce from the chieftain. The BMP-2 gets destroyed as, well, it has no business being here. This thing continues to bounce shot after shot, either from its upper plate. There was actually a shot that landed back here, which didn't penetrate because of the ridiculous angle. That's over a 90 degree, that's more than 90 degrees. There is one shot that goes in, though, and I don't think, I know, that one went through the lower plate. So, the pretty much only vulnerable part of the armor, and I'm getting shot by another T-72. Here's another case in point. Look at the amount of shots this thing's bounced off its frontal part, off the frontal part of its armor. T-72's incredible armor. However, there's a problem. Two of the 5 tanks on our team are destroyed. This Centauro is doing all he can. Really, full shout out to this guy. He's been amazing this match, but the BMP-2 got positioned in, well, really bad position. There's a T-80 coming in. Yes, that thing that's 2 generations ahead of me. And there's a Stingray somewhere. There's the Stingray. He's not going to survive. He's surrounded by 4 enemy tanks. Right, I am getting surrounded as well. And this is how you remove a T-72 from its position. You surround it. Shout out to the Rock there for providing excellent cover. I need to go back and deal with this Panzer 57. Because if I don't, that thing can dish out a lot of damage and it can knock me out. Which means leaving the Centauro on his own. He realizes this and starts calling for help, but... Can we just see that one more time? Yeah, I know, but... Can I actually not rewind? No, I can't. Can I? No, I can't. Okay, regardless. Enemy knocked out. Bounced a couple of shots off me, no way in hell of penetrating. I signaled to him that I'm on my way, and he did very cleverly pop smoke, but that only would last for so long. There is a BMD-2, he takes it out very nice, snaps a shot straight into him, and then we begin. That T-80 cannot penetrate me at this angle. The lower plate maybe, but hitting the lower plate from there is a challenge, and as you can see, I've already bounced 3 shots off the lower plate, so not even that is a guarantee. The Centauro, try again, is very smart in when he comes out and starts ploughing shots into that thing, and there we go. That would be all. Soviet power supreme, gentlemen. To prove my point, here's another replay. Again, close match, a lot of bouncing, carrying the team more or less, with another player. Similar match to this one, different map. Operation Phalanx. Tier 6 game, I am one of 2 Tier 5 tanks in this PvE encounter again. This is going to be a very similar match to the previous one, and where I'm going to try and prove my point, that this thing is one certified badass. The purpose of this video is purely educational. I am trying to show you that this vehicle can bounce thousands of potential damage points each and every time you take it for a spin, provided you angle the armor at about 30 to 45 degrees, upgrade the side armor of course, and not get outflanked. Equally, if you're trying to take out a T-72, don't complain that its armor is overpowered, because, well, it doesn't have a great accurate gun, it doesn't have a lot of speed, it doesn't have a lot of firepower, it doesn't do a lot of damage. Its armor is pretty much the only thing holding it together. So, let's begin. Fragile BMD-4. I think I missed my first shot, which is a curse of T-72s. No, I don't actually, never mind. Straight into that salvaged VMF, and gone. He tried to shoot me. First shot of the game that I take. Center of the upper hull. Bounced. So, I've seen a lot of people complaining that the T-72 doesn't have enough armor to warrant the nerf in gun and everything else. The speed and so on and so forth. True, but if you're leaving the enemy with an open lower plate to shoot you at, or the flush side of your rear armor, or the flush side of your side armor, then no. It isn't that well armored, but angling your tank 30 degrees in one direction or another is not the most difficult thing to ever do. You're going to see a lot of that here. Again, Panzer 57, I didn't actually get to shoot it there, but regardless. Moving up, there is a Bradley and another VFM. By the way, you wanna have some Vertigo experience of Vertigo in a YouTube video? There we go. Yeah, for some reason you can do that. So, plenty of shots fired at me, plenty missed, plenty bounced. There's a Terminator. This thing is difficult to get through. You're going to see me fire another shot here. There it is. That last shot that went in, that wasn't mine. Actually, the last shot that went in to it came from the side and destroyed it, but that second to last shot that hit the upper plate, that came from me, and it bounced. Well, actually, it didn't bounce. It got sucked up by the reactive armor, but still. Moving up the map. Again, keeping your tank angled. Because I'm sick and tired, basically. This is the why I'm doing the video. I'm sick and tired of people either complaining that this thing's armor is too overpowered, or too underpowered. The answer is, in the hands of a good, competent driver, this thing can do miracles. I'm going to shoot at that truck over there. In the hands of an incompetent driver, the armor is useless. Angle that shit. Don't let them hit you flush in the side or rear. don't give them the lower plate. Ideally, you want to be in a hold-down position, but not a lot of maps offer that, and not a lot of situations where that is actually viable. So, ridgelines, they're okay considering the angle, but bye-bye Stingray. But generally, you want to put an object in front of you, like a tractor or a train or something like that, or a rock ideally, and then shoot by side-scraping the armor. As you see in the previous position, tanks in that situation are practically impossible to break, and practically impossible to kill, unless you surround them. And again, there is an experimental tank with that gun, which is pretty much the only thing that can penetrate a T-72 if it hits its lower plate or the side armor at a slightly unoptimized angle, which you'll see there. That was a shot to the side. Again, we're getting pinned down here, so I need to move up and take some damage. Again. Actually, not again, but I didn't make this point. You have 1,555 HP, unless you modified. There's another bounce, by the way, in the upper plate, again. From, I believe, a leopard. You know you've done something right if you bounced a leopard. With its assortment of guns and ammunition, that thing can cleave through practically any vehicle in the game. The trade-off is, of course, its armor, and I'm getting shot in the side again. Oh, sorry, the rear, which is why I've lost the last couple of hundred HP. But in its natural environment now, behind a rock, there we go, another bounce. Trying to hide from the enemy tanks, and there's a leopard. Okay, bounce another shot from the leopard. Enemy VFM coming from the side, and at this point, I am in the zone. There is a wreckage of a tank in front of me. If that doesn't protect me, the angle of the armor certainly will, provided I'm going to get shot in the rear here. Right there, exactly. There is a Leopard 2A coming up to assist me. Boom. The amount of enemy tanks that are going to spawn and get eliminated here is, well, something to behold. There goes the warrior, and let's take a look at this from the perspective of the enemy. They have a couple of main battle tanks here trying to shoot at this. Fair enough, the Leopard can get penetrated, but they're focusing their fire on me. Problem is, they can't see more than the upper hull at a 45-degree angle, which is an auto bounce zone most of the time, and the turret, which, as I established, cannot be penetrated. The lesson to be learned here is, do not stack up 5 vehicles in front of a T-72 Ural or a T-64, as they will rip them to shreds without taking more than a couple of hundred points of damage. If you're trying to kill a T-72, simply outflank it, shoot it in the side, shoot it in the rear, avoid the turret at all costs, even from the rear. The tank itself without turret isn't too well armoured, and the upper plate is only good because it's angled so well. The rest of the tank isn't that thickly armoured, so if you're trying to remove one of these things from the battlefield, either in PvE or PvP, shoot at the tank, not the turret. Well, shoot at the rest of the tank, just not the turret. And also outflank it. Just don't, for the love of God, try and shoot it in the upper plate, which they tried to do many times. Spoiler warning, we do win this eventually, and here's actually a good situation for me to show you. A T-72A, something that is still being used by the Russian army, as well as several other armies across the world, including my country, fondly enough, but this thing bounced even more shots than I did. It has reactive armor on the front, on the side, it has the skirts, and reactive armor on the turret. Same rule applies for the T-72A, except that, you know, this is later tiers, this is like tier 6, right? So you do get more options, and fair enough, there's different types of ammunition shooting at you, but as a general rule of thumb, don't shoot where the AI is trying to shoot. And it's not just the AI. In PvP as well, I've seen hundreds of shots go straight in to the turret of a T-64, or really any Soviet tank, T60, T50... T54? Is it? What's the one that you start with? Yeah, the T54. T62, T72... Any tank, really. Their characteristics are fairly common and similar between all of them. Good turret... well, not good. Almost impregnable turret armor. Good frontal plate if angled. And fairly standard side armor, which enables you to angle your tank. There we go, that would be pretty much it. I have not single-handedly, me and that leopard, which I'm trying to find on the battlefield somewhere, unless he's dead now, there he is. Me and this leopard, which is left sort of to fend on his own here, have managed to take out pretty much half of the enemy team by simply staying in a good position and keeping those guns firing. There is an absolute graveyard of tanks. Well, there was before they despawned. But an absolute graveyard of tanks ahead of us. Not to diminish what the ERC and the Palmyra did. We appreciate their support, and the T-72A held up the other front very well as well, but... point being, Soviet power is supreme. Soviet steel is supreme. If handled properly. In any situation, you can position yourself as to have a big advantage over the enemy with your gun and your armor. You just need to know the strengths of your tank and use them. Use that gun, keep it firing, and use that armor. Angle it, for Christ's sake. There we go, that was pretty much it. That was my educational video on basically a dummy's guide to the T-72, and as well as a couple of other Soviet, well, ex-Soviet, now Russian, and a couple of other states' main battle tanks. My name is Juggernaut. Please remember to like and subscribe down below if you enjoyed this video. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.